2010 video edition of the Iowa General Fund Monthly Revenue Memo. My name is Jeff Robinson, Senior Fiscal Analyst for the Legislative Services Agency, the nonpartisan support agency of the Iowa Legislature. This video presents information covering the month of April 2010 and the first 10 months of fiscal year 2010. For the month of April, Iowa net general fund revenue was $26.5 million above April 2009. On a percent basis, the month's increase was a solid 7.7%. Gross revenues for the month were up 3.8%, while regular tax refunds declined slightly. School infrastructure refunds decreased 14.5% compared to April 2009. Due to the large drop in sales and use tax revenue over the past year, the school infrastructure segment of tax refunds has been trending down since November. The significant increase for the month of April came from gross corporate income tax, up $16.3 million, or 38.9% for the month. Unclaimed property revenue provided a $5 million boost, and corrective adjustments to interest income added $1.5 million. Together, these three items accounted for 86% of the month's net revenue increase. This table provides a look at the most recent 3 months, showing February down 7.4% due to tax processing issues, March up 16.8% as those same issues reversed, and now followed by April with 7.7% growth in net revenue. For comparison, growth over the first 7 months of the cash fiscal year was negative 7.5%. The next table provides a look at the first 10 months of the cash year, July through April. Over those 10 months, gross revenue decreased 3.2%, while regular tax refunds increased 1.9%. School infrastructure refunds issued so far this year increased 6.1%, or $17.6 million. On a cash basis, 10 months of the infrastructure refunds have been issued in fiscal year 2010 versus 9 months in fiscal year 2009, accounting for the increase in this item. The combination of gross revenue, regular tax refunds, and school infrastructure refunds produced a net revenue growth rate for the first 10 months of negative 4.6%, or in dollar terms, negative $211.7 million. The growth in net revenue each of the past 2 months is a welcome sign, as they represent only the second and third growth months of the past 15. Whether we see growth in May and June will depend significantly on how far along the Department of Revenue currently is with processing of tax year 2009 personal income tax returns. Through April 30, the Department has processed 217,000 tax return payments and issued 804,000 tax refunds. Each number is down about 17,000 from the same date last year. In an average year, about 63% of payments with returns have been deposited by April 30, and 78% of refunds issued. However, staff reductions and the lack of seasonal processing help make this year an abnormal year, so using those statistics from previous years to project the remainder of the tax year may not be useful. The March 2010 Revenue Estimating Conference, or REC, set the expected growth rate in net general fund revenue, excluding transfers, at negative 8.7% for the year, making the net cash growth rate for this fiscal year currently about 4 percentage points ahead of the REC estimate. For this month's video memo, let's take a more long-term look at the Iowa General Fund revenues picture. This chart provides the path of gross revenue collections since June of 2000, presented as a 12-month moving total. The left side of the chart highlights the 3.5 years of flat revenue brought on by the recession of the early 2000s, followed by 5 years of good growth until gross revenue peaked in April 2009. The most recent 2 months provide a significant departure from the trend since that peak. The red dot on the right axis represents the Revenue Estimating Conference projection for fiscal year 2010 gross revenue. Regular tax refunds are presented in this graph. Regular refunds exclude school infrastructure refunds. As with gross revenue, the most recent 2 months represent a significant departure from the trend shown over the past year. Combining the two charts and adjusting for school infrastructure refunds provides this graph of long-term net general fund revenue excluding transfers. The most recent peak in net revenue collections was in November of 2008 at $6.1 billion. Should February 2010 prove to be the trough, the total drop in net revenue peak to trough will equal 10.7%. This graph also emphasizes the fact that the net revenue drop for the early 2000 recession pales in comparison to the drop associated with the most recent recession. Overall, the month of April 2010 was a positive month, although much of the positive growth came from a few line items. The most encouraging feature of the month was that it was not a negative, and it raises the very real possibility that the severe drop in net revenue that began 17 months ago may have ended. The year-to-date net growth rate of negative 4.6% through April is currently much better than the REC estimate of negative 8.7%, and it seems likely the year will end above projections. How much above projections depends on what remains of the tax year 2009 personal income tax returns to be processed. Return processing is usually substantially completed by the end of May. However, significant staff reductions experienced by the Department of Revenue may extend tax processing through June and beyond this year. The condition of Iowa's general fund impacts all Iowa residents, and I hope that this video presentation assists in your understanding of the present fiscal conditions of the state. I thank you very much for your interest in Iowa general fund revenue.